I know these boys of mine here. They'll kick like blazes.
Lord Brookborough, for 20 years Prime Minister of Northern Ireland, talking about reaction to the disbandment of the Ulster Special Constabulary, the B Specials, probably the most hated police force in Europe. What are they really like? Tom McCahey is a builder and a B-man, with a British Empire Medal for his defence of Swatre police barracks during an IRA attack in 1957. Mr. McCahey, how long have you been in the B Specials?
27 years.
And have you in that time ever seen any active service?
If you mean using my weapon in anger, I can say yes.
Under what conditions was that?
Well, I have been ambushed twice. I have been blown up twice. I was blown up. We were in the Nissen hut one night at Upperlands. We were very convenient to a transformer at Upperlands. And I had been twice in Swatre police barracks when it came under attack. Actually, once on the street, I got caught in the crossfire there.
And you fired back?
Of course.
Why do you think the Specials have got such a bad name, particularly recently?
Well, now. Well, I think a campaign of propaganda, probably lying propaganda, has been carried out against them. I don't think that actually the people who said these things believe in their own hearts that they are guilty of everything what they have said.
So you believe that in fact all the population of Northern Ireland can join together in promoting peace in this country?
I say it's very regrettable that it hasn't been done long ago. I don't see why it couldn't be. It's ridiculous that it's not, isn't it?
Do you think that some of the other members of the Special Constabulary might be a little more worried about serving with Catholics in a new force?
Well, I mean, I cannot speak for them all. I can know what I feel myself, and I regret I have to stop there.
Presumably you talked to your friends.
I did indeed. Well, we're all of the one mind on this. No, I don't think they have any objections. I mean, why should they? Probably it's something that comes up in this society of ours. We have two fractions, and there they are. You see, the IRA are, I suppose, reputed to be drawn from the Roman Catholic population, and, well, we don't know who they are, and we don't know what their mind is, you see.
If Mr. McCahey seems to refute the claim that the Specials are hired thugs, so too does his district commandant, Mr. Wallace Clark, a voice of sweet reason and, because of his liberalism, one of the few Special Constabulary officers who agrees to publicity in his attempt to counteract what he calls false impressions about the force, which tradition has made him a member of.
My grandfather started the Specials. He was involved in the volunteers in 1912, and then when the Specials were formed on the formation of Ulster, he was the leader, and my father followed him, and I more or less followed in the family tradition there.
Well, what do you think is the raison d'etre for the existence of the Specials?
Well, there was terrorism in the early days of the Northern Ireland as a community. There was a very tremendous risk of terrorism. The IRA did succeed in it very effectively in a campaign of terrorism in the south, where they coerced people to accept their rule, and this, I think, would have happened in the north if it hadn't been for a force like the Specials. I think one can take the parallel a little further and say that we've been at least successful in controlling our extremists to the extent that they don't go down and try and blow up the O'Connell Bridge. And if we had people who did that type of thing, there'd probably be a need for a force rather like the Specials in the Republic.
Would it not be possible to have a normal auxiliary police force like any other country in the world as a reservist force?
Oh, well, this is one of the things the Hunt Committee report is going to do for us. There's always been a confusion of function in the Specials, which I've never particularly liked. One has accepted in that we are both supposed to be police reinforcements for normal police duties and a force which has to be military to beat the terrorists, because the terrorists are pretty well armed. And now Hunt has done what many people said should have been done ages ago. He's divided this. We've got what's going to be called, I believe, the Police Volunteer Reserve, which will be purely police in function, like the Special Constabulary in England, and the new Internal Security Force, of which the name hasn't yet been decided, which will replace the military function of the Specials.
But there seems to be a considerable reaction at the moment against any change in the existing forces.
Yes, well, I think this is to be expected. People are always suspicious of change. This conservative outlook is a virtue in some circumstances, but at the moment I think that people are overreacting.
Has there not been some truth in some of the claims that have been made about the B Specials?
One has to be very careful talking about this because some of the stuff would be sub judice with the Scarman Commission. The Cameron report did mention that B Specials were observed in plain clothes at certain of the instances. In some cases, I think they were there with perfectly good intent to help the police, knowing that the local police officers hadn't the authority to call them out. In other cases, they were bystanders at a local event of interest, which is a reasonable sort of thing to do. There may have been others who were there with vicious intent, a few. It is tremendously a force of individuals, the Ulster Special Constabulary, but I do feel that our image has got completely astray. The reasons why chaps are in the Special Constabulary, they're ordinary, decent, kindly people mostly, just like any other group, and but they dislike their families being terrorised by these frequent terrorist attacks we've had to endure. And perhaps they're, for that reason, a little more determined, with a little more spirit of public service than some people who don't join. But as a group, they're not bully boys and thugs and all this. I simply wouldn't belong to a force which consisted of people like that. It's something that many of us, well, none of us would subscribe our names to a force that in real life consisted of people who behaved in the way that's so freely alleged.
I don't know how we'll do this year. After these old patrols, they mess up everything.
Well, patrols haven't been too bad. There haven't been too many calls made south.
Well, did I had one or two now that would have pleased anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Illegal merchandise?
I don't think so, no.
You don't deal in it?
No.
Good man. Off you go.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Sorry
Right
for
now, Sergeant. Good luck.
Section. For inspection, Paul. East. Order. Stand at east.
The man who founded them believes in the work they've done. Lord Brookborough, when you founded the B Specials, do you think they would still have to be in existence 50 years later?
Well, when I founded them, I don't think I thought very much about that. There was an immediate danger, and I think if I did think at all, I hope people would settle down and have a bit of sense.
Well, do you think that the fears of the Protestants, which were imminent at that time, are still justified?
Well, yes, because as far as I know, the IRA are still in existence. And I remember very acutely in the 56 and 57, without any warning whatsoever, they came over here and blew up bridges, blew up barracks, shot various people, and I don't know that I could be happy unless we had got a force to protect the loyal people of this country.
Well, now, you're on record as saying that you don't like to be considered as Irish, and also distrusting the loyalty of some of the Catholic people here. Do you think that there is a common ground between the two religions in this country?
Well, to begin with, I don't think there's any question of religion. I think the fact is that on the whole, and I say on the whole, the Roman Catholic is out for a Republic of Ireland. On the whole, the Protestant is out for a union with England and loyalty to the Queen. That is the difference. I said that I didn't like calling myself an Irishman because I'd just come back from a very unpleasant time on the Somme or somewhere else in France, and was suddenly met with this rising in Dublin. And when you've been fighting hard, you don't expect to get a jab in the back. That was the reason.
Well, given this position, would you, if you were still Prime Minister, have urged the acceptance of the Hunt report?
Yes, I might have done it in another way.
What other way?
Oh, well, timing, I think, is the important thing. I think that there's been so much happening just lately, the Cameron report and this report and various other things, that the people have been suffering from indigestion.
Knowing the fears of the Protestants and knowing the unionist grassroots mentality as you do you think that they have too much to face, or could the people accept the Hunt report and the other reforms?
Well, it's an awfully hard thing to get into other people's minds. I think that they will in the end, but mind you, they don't like a lot of what's happened. I think that they will in the end accept, with some minor alterations, they will accept it.
Do you have any idea what kind of alterations might keep them happy?
Well, I don't think I can go into that because I think they're under consideration at the moment. That's, I think, very nearly what you call sub judice, isn't it?
I see. Well, do you think that a large number of Catholics could be welcome in the Reserve Protection Forces in Northern Ireland?
Well, the trouble is that they've never so far cooperated. I think there's always a suspicion in the loyalist mind that the man would take an oath, and not abide by it, because, you see, their representatives in the House of Commons have said that they take the oath merely to get into the House of Commons, that it amounts to nothing.
What must they do to allay those suspicions?
Well, now you're asking me. I really can't tell you that. I don't know. But I think that if they'd only cooperated from the beginning, all this trouble and all these suspicions and anxieties would have been non-existent.